The biography of Avatar of the Age Mayor Baba, Volumes 7 and 8, 1940-1945. This is Chatti Baba in France. For several weeks, Chatti Baba had been telling his attendant Krishna that the people of Europe were undergoing terrible suffering. Baba would bathe this great mast every day with 150 to 200 buckets of water. The bath of bucket after bucket of water would take hours. Just after his bath, Chatti Baba had the odd habit of sitting on the ground and scooping up handful after handful of loose earth and pouring it over his head. Baba even instructed Krishna to keep 15 baskets of earth in Chatti Baba's room every day to facilitate this need. It was while he was pouring earth over his head one day that Chatti Baba poignantly remarked to Krishna, "There will be much anguish and privation in the world, and many will die of starvation. But Baba will finally assuage the suffering of the world." Yet Chatti Baba grew more and more restless. On the night of June 5th, at 1 o'clock, carrying a lantern, he suddenly rushed into Baba's room, bawling out, "Arise, arise!" Savik Kotwal and the others asked him what had happened, and he replied, "Nothing." The next morning he cleaned his room himself, which he had never done before. Again on the afternoon of June 6th, the must entered Baba's room, stood by the door, and said, "If not Mysore, I am going back to my village." He said he wished to leave, so Baba ordered the Mandali to take him out of the compound for a walk. He was taken out, but wanted to walk to the women's side. The men tried to lead him away, but he was adamant. Finally, Baba sent a car, and Chatti Baba was told he would be taken to his village. Smilingly, he got in and was driven instead back to his room. Chatti Baba appeared very restless until 8 that evening, and would frequently open and shut his door. On the morning of the 8th of June, he locked himself in his room and would not come out for his bath. But the most significant incident occurred on Sunday night, June 9th, when the must became suddenly violent, noisily leaving his small room and going directly to Baba's room. There he told Baba, "My house has been utterly destroyed. It's on fire. I have come to you for shelter." Baba at once ordered the Mandali to leave him alone with the must, and both retired into Baba's room and shut the door. The Mandali heard Chatti Baba talking feverishly to Baba for a few hours, and then all was quiet. He spent the night alone with Baba in his room. The next morning, June 10th, Baba left his seclusion and explained about the must behavior. Chatti Baba has a spiritual connection with France. He was overwrought with despair because of the cataclysm that is occurring in France these days. Baba went to see the women, and at one point he poignantly commented, "If Italy joins the war, there will be world war. There will be utter destruction and chaos, just as I want. Then people will feel the hollowness, the emptiness of it all, and turn to God. Since I am in India, India will suffer a great deal also." Later that day, to the surprise of the world, Italy declared war on England and France. The next day, June 11th, when Baba heard the news, he remarked to the women, "Now Turkey has to join, and then everything will go as I planned. So if Turkey joins, cook rava to celebrate. Rava is a sweet dish." There has never been such a war, and never will be another like it. But when this is over, peace will reign for 400 years. From this mass destruction I will build life anew, and quite different from now, much happier, better. All who die in this war will take form again and enjoy this peace. He concluded informing the women, "Be ready to leave Mehrabad in 25 days. It should be noted that Baba's seclusion indication of developments in the Second World War. Baba was carefully following the tide of events from his seclusion. He had newspaper reports read aloud to him each day, and would keep an atlas by his side to chart the progress of events. The war in Europe was raging at that time, when Baba entered his seclusion. Belgium was being overrun by the German forces and surrendered. The Germans also began invading France, and 300,000 Allied troops were evacuated from Dunkirk. 5 days after Baba entered seclusion, Hitler declared a war of annihilation against all his enemies. Mussolini in Italy declared war, and England, which now stood alone, as America was still neutral, began bombing Libya and Italian East Africa. In retaliation, Malta and Alexandria were bombed by Italy, and the evacuation of school children from London began. Paris was captured by the Germans on June 14th, and the Russians occupied Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. One day Baba called the 5 Bangalore boys and asked each, "What do you want? What do you want to do in life?" Raju said, "I want to go into business." Kalapapa said, "I want to deal in cooking oil." Amdu said, "I would like to drive a Tonga." Venkoba Rao said, "I want to be a farmer." Krishna alone replied, "I want you, Baba." Baba looked at him, gesturing, "I will give you, Baba." He then informed Venkoba, "Wait for some time before you become an agriculturist." Baba kept Krishna and Venkoba Rao in Mehrabad. He sent the other 3 boys back home after making arrangements for them according to their wishes. Baba smilingly remarked to Krishna, "You have fallen into a ditch. Now you will be in trouble." The mast Pulwala and Ramshish were sent back to their villages, and Kalapa, Amdu, and Raju back home. Papa Jesawala was assigned to escort them all. Baba's remark to Krishna proved to have a literal meaning a few days later. All of the waste material from the must toilets was dumped into a large pit. One day it rained heavily, and the pit filled with water. Papa Jesawala told Krishna to empty the water from the pit with buckets. While cleaning it, Krishna slipped and fell into the pit. He shouted to Venkoba Rao, who pulled him out. Baba came by and saw Krishna covered with the filth. "Why were you cleaning the pit?" he asked. Krishna said that Papa Jesawala had told him to do it. Baba became upset with Papa. "Why did you tell him to clean the pit without my permission?" he asked. Subsequently, Baba ordered Krishna to bathe 16 times. He handed Krishna 16 small stones with which to count, so he would not make a mistake. After doing as Baba instructed, Krishna told Baba that his skin felt very tight. Baba went to the women's room and brought him some oil to apply to his body. Baba asked Krishna, "Do you feel bad while cleaning the pit?" He replied, "No." Baba spelled out, "You yourself are full of unclean matter. Do you realize that? Why do you live in such filth? Don't you feel dirty? Start feeling unclean because of the filth of the desires that cover you from head to toe, and begin to clean them as you have cleaned the pit today." During this period at Mehrabad, Baba commented to the women, "One day I will take you to the place where creation started." Baba hinted that this spot was at a place in Java. Footnote on page 2567. Meher Baba had previously explained that the missing link had emerged out of the jungles in Java, Sumatra, and Madhya Pradesh in India. The reader should refer to volume 5 of this biography, page 1872. Baba's remark could have had another meaning, that is, to the whole journey in creation. Soon after, Baba sent Chanji to Bombay to open an office there. When Chanji arrived, Baba sent instructions for him to gather information about Java, Sumatra, Bali, Kashmir, Iran, Australia, and New Zealand. Chanji was told to arrange applications for passports for the Mandalay who did not have them. Baba left Mehrabad by train at 2 p.m. on June 13th for an undisclosed destination. All thought he was going to the north, and he did not even inform those who were accompanying him where they were going until they had left Mehrabad. Their destination was Calcutta, and they arrived there 2 days later, staying at the Broadway Hotel. Accompanying Baba was Gustaji, Pendu, Kakabaria, and Savik Katwal. In Calcutta, Baba contacted for the first time a great six-plane must, whom we later call Karim Baba. Baba felt him, that is, Baba fed him, gave him cigarettes, and saw him 4 or 5 times before he left. He remarked to the Mandali, "This must is the spiritual chargeman of Calcutta." After contacting other musts in Calcutta, including an old Mastani who was given a new sari and an umbrella, Baba went to Ranchi on June 18th. He remained there for a day at the Prince Victor bungalow, arranging for a place to stay, so he could bring the women. He then returned to Mehrabad with Pendu and Kakabaria, leaving Gustaji and Savik behind in Ranchi, with instructions to fast until he returned. Baba arrived back in Mehrabad on the morning of June 22nd. On June 21st, 1940, Baba dictated the following message. The present world chaos and the universal suffering are absolutely necessary for the eventful universal spiritual upliftment and for a new world where peace, love, and divine aspirations will reign supreme. None should therefore feel scared and dismayed, bearing in mind the certainty of this bright future. From the spiritual point of reality, the words nation and foreign, killed and killer, war and peace, success and defeat have no meaning, because the world of forms and of duality have no existence in our imaginary dreams. The present universal chaos is just a universal nightmare, necessary for the real universal awakening. Body forms and minds are innumerable and of infinite variety, but souls are all originally and eternally one. In fact, only one infinite reality exists, and that is God. Therefore, the present apparent world catastrophe is, by divine will, essential for a divine manifestation in the near future of love and real peace, in which I have to play the greatest part, in which I want my men and women disciples to play the corresponding parts of helping me in this, my work. Those of you who are absolutely willing and prepared to share my present universal burden and to help me in my work implicitly. Things are happening and will happen as they ought to happen by the divine will. And so, whether war ends now or next year, or whether there is truce now or peace next year, having no thought in mind whatsoever of war or peace, you will have to stay here or go wheresoever I may send you, and do whatsoever I may tell you, at the cost of supreme self-sacrifice, from August 1st, 1940 to July 31st, 1941. I definitely will speak on the 1st of August, 1941. It will be the divine word that I shall utter first, which will resurrect the dead world. This is my last war, peace and manifestation message to my disciples. When Baba returned to Mehrabad on June 22nd, this message was sent to approximately 240 close lovers, asking them to reply whether or not they were prepared to follow Baba's instructions. These instructions that he later sent were to be followed for 1 year, beginning August 1st. At one point, Baba also dictated this message for public distribution. The greatest need of humanity today is love. Love divine, which is pure and selfless, which awakens man to the proper sense and understanding of his real duty in life, to find true happiness in giving, not receiving, in serving and not in being served, and in more willingly participating in the suffering of others than in their happiness. My mission in life is to kindle that divine spark of love in all. Returning to Mehrabad, Baba again began working in the mast ashram on Mehrabad Hill. Chanji was called back from Bombay, and he arrived on Sunday, June 23rd. He was told to book a third-class compartment to Ranchi for the Mandalay. Accordingly, he reserved 2 bogies for the journey. Adi Senior arrived the same day from Bangalore and was given certain instructions for those there. On June 29th, Baba informed the women, "From August 1st, 1940, doomsday will start for the whole world. Not for one moment will people feel safe in any part of the world for 1 year. All over the world there will be earthquakes, floods, famine, and new diseases. Those killed in war will be nothing compared to those who will be killed by floods, famine, plague, and so forth. There will be a terrible famine like the one in Persia where millions died in a single year. Half the world will be affected by this famine. People will forget war, victory, and defeat. I remember it was 17 years ago when I was having tea with the Mandalay in the mess quarters. I told them all about this war, when and how it would happen. This war will bring a complete destruction. America will not suffer any less. Her backbone will snap." All 240 of the lovers receiving Baba's message of June 21st responded affirmatively to his call for obedience to his instructions for 1 year, starting from the 1st of August. On Sunday, June 30th, Baba remarked, In Ranchi, in July, I will instruct, individually, all the 240 who have signed. It will be the hardest test for those who have signed to obey me implicitly, according to their ability, and for some, the supreme test. Now, anyone who says no leaves me for good without arguing. I want also Delia, Will, Mary, and a few others to answer. But how? I too shall suffer a lot physically. It will be hideous suffering. I will literally die physically. How? It will all come naturally as physical suffering. Remember, again, December will be the most important month of my seclusion. Papa Jesawala had been managing the mast ashram in Erich's absence. On July 2nd, Baba sent Papa to Rangoon, Burma, to find a suitable bungalow there for Baba and the women and the men Mandalay. During this period, Savek Kotwal's daughters were sent to Secunderabad to study in one of the finest girls' schools in the country, the school attended by the children of the Nizam. Sawar also attended school there. School fees for the 3 girls and their living expenses were paid by Baba. Meanwhile, Sultan, Nargis Kotwal, and her infant son Adi and Banubai stayed with the women Mandalay. End of chapter. Next chapter is Ranchi. Baba left Mehrabad for Ranchi on June 3rd, 1940 by train at 3:30 p.m. with the men and women Mandalay. The women who accompanied him were Mera, Sister Mani, Banubai, Dowla, Elizabeth Patterson, Irene Billow, Katie, Kakubai, Carmen Masi, Khorshed, Kitty Davy, Mansari, Margaret Krask, Nadine Tolstoy, Nadja, Nargis Kotwal, Norina Machabelli, Rano Gailey, Soltun, Sunamasi, Balu, and several women servants. The men with Baba were Baidul, Krishna, Chanji, Dr. Nilu, Dr. Donkin, Vinkoba Rao, Kakabaria, and Vishnu. Gustaji and Savek Kotwal were already in Ranchi fasting. The group reached Manmad at 7:30 p.m., where they had to change trains. Rain was falling heavily, and it was a troublesome task to carry all the bulky luggage to the other train. Pendu had accompanied the group up to Manmad and helped them load the luggage before returning to Mehrabad. In the train going to Ranchi, Baba commented, Each time I move from some place, something happens. When we left Bangalore, France got in a fix. And now that we have left Mehrabad, Britain will be cornered. They reached Chakraharpur on July 5th at 2:30 a.m. and proceeded to Ranchi in buses, reaching there at 8 a.m. 3 musts, Chatti Baba, Shariat Khan, and Mohammed, had travelled with them from Mehrabad. When they stepped down from the bus, Chatti Baba started walking away. Strenuous efforts were made to coax him back to Golkati, their residence, but in vain. After efforts to persuade him for hours, he got up, but began strolling toward the women's side of the bungalow. With much difficulty he was stopped, but instead of going to his room, he went to the men's mandali quarters. Baba then moved the men to different quarters. The next day, Kaka divided the room with a bamboo screen, so Baba could work with Chatti Baba in seclusion. But the must was restless, and would not stay in this room either. The next evening, sending for Donkin, Chatti Baba readily let Donkin lead him by the hand to his room, where Baba sat with him. Baba at times worked with Chatti Baba several times a day, and sometimes during the night too. As soon as they settled in at Golkati, all had a bath. But the next day they found that the well in their compound was completely dry. It turned out that the water in it was only rainwater. There was no underground source, and they had exhausted its meager supply in just one day. There were about 50 people with Baba, and an adequate water supply became a problem. They managed to arrange for cooking and drinking water from a neighboring well. When the subject of food for the men and women in the Ranchi was being discussed, Baba very seriously stated, consider the pitiable plight and condition of the people in Europe where war is raging on. Consider especially the refugees who have left their homes and were driven like cattle from place to place to save their lives from the conquering hordes who were following them like shadows. In their condition, even the necessities of life like food and drink were considered secondary. They are homeless, without a roof over their heads, thrown into open streets or fields, starving with nothing to cover themselves except what they have on their person. Compared to them, people in India are far better off. In spite of the dreadful news of war every day, and the economic and general trade depression that the war has brought on all, and the consequent financial stringencies all over, people in India can move about at will and leisurely, even going out for recreation in the open gardens or seashore, and entertain themselves by going to the movies or to music and dance halls. After August of this year, conditions will worsen. Developments in the war will take a serious turn, become complicated, and the flames will spread far and wide until the war will embrace not only the whole of the West, but also the East. Besides, a time will come when people will even forget the war and the terrible destruction it has caused in life and property, for there will be further disasters, more voracious in their destruction and destructive power, like plagues and pestilences, fire and famine, floods and earthquakes of immense magnitude and force, all of which will take more toll of life and property than machine guns and bombs. Then, too, civil wars will complicate the political situation among nations and make things even more chaotic, until it will create a deadlock. Even millionaires will be starving for food. There will be chaos everywhere, and all will be helpless. On July 6th, Baba dictated a circular of 31 instructions to be sent to about 240 of his lovers in Bombay, Nasik, Ahmednagar, America, and Europe. Attached to each individual copy, Baba selected which of the conditions each was to follow, and Baba signed each slip with the appropriate numbers listed on it. Some were given a choice of which conditions were most suitable for them to follow. All were informed that for 1 year from August 1st, 1940 to July 31st, 1941, no one was to visit Baba or to correspond with him. In urgent cases, telegrams would be permitted. The work of typing so many copies, then having Baba scrutinize each individual's orders and mailing them, took about 10 days to complete. The orders were as follows. Number 1, do not indulge in tobacco smoking in any form. Number 2, do not drink alcoholic beverages of whatever kind. 3, do not eat meat. 4, do not eat fish. 5, do not eat eggs. 6, perform no lustful action whatever, even with your lawful wife or husband. Item 7, for men, do not touch, even without thought of lust, any female over 6 years of age, except under the following circumstances. A, when absolutely necessary, when attending the sick. B, when absolutely necessary, when nursing the sick. C, when absolutely necessary during medical examination of the patient. D, when absolutely necessary when controlling the mad. E, when absolutely necessary when saving a woman's life and honor. F, when absolutely necessary when rendering first aid in accidents. G, when absolutely necessary when innocently and lustlessly touching your lawful wife and performing your household duties. H, when absolutely necessary in formally shaking hands. 8, for women, do not touch, even without thought of lust, any male over 6 years of age, except under the following circumstances. All of the above A to H, inserting in E, a man's life, and in G, your lawful husband. 9, do not tell lies. 10, do not steal. 11, do not criticize, scandalize, or speak ill of others. 12, do not go to any cinema performance. 13, do not go to any theater, variety, opera, or concert. 14, do not go to any circus performance. 15, do not go to any horse race or indulge in betting of any kind. 16, 17, do not read books, magazines, or literature of any kind, except newspapers, letters, and important documents connected with your work. 18, do not write, either by hand or with a typewriter, except to sign your name on important documents. 19, you must fast in the following manner for 1 year. Take only liquids, milk, tea, coffee, or liquid foods and water. 20, you must fast in the following manner for 1 year. Take twice in 24 hours milk, tea, or coffee, and once in 24 hours 1 solid meal, with as much water as needed. 21, you must fast in the following manner 1 day a week for a period of 1 year. Take twice in 24 hours milk, tea, or coffee, and once in 24 hours 1 solid meal with as much water as needed. 22, you are to observe silence for 1 year. 23, for a suitable period each day you are to meditate either upon the impersonal God or upon Baba. 24, you are to make a pilgrimage on foot to places of spiritual importance, or to any place instructed by Baba. 25, you must prostrate yourself before or kiss the feet of any person or persons named by Baba. 26, for the period of 1 year you must beg for food and must not accept any money offered to you. 27, you must refrain from taking part in any religious ceremony or ritual. 28, you must perform conscientiously the prayers customary to your religion. 29, you must give personal selfless service to those physically afflicted. 30, you shall neither hit, strike, nor beat anyone, save in self-defense or in case of life and death. 31, you shall neither hit, strike, nor beat anyone, save in protecting the weak. It must be emphasized that each person was instructed to carry out only certain numbers of these orders. For example, one woman was ordered by Baba to follow the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20, 23, every day, half-hour meditation. 27:28 every day, half-hour repetition of God's name. 30:31. In a similar manner, Baba dictated which orders each was to follow. In some cases, he left it up to the individual. These clarifications of Meher Baba's instructions were also mailed. Those who have been instructed to follow orders numbers 2 to 5, no alcohol, meat, fish, or eggs, must follow these orders under any circumstances, including sickness. 2. In case of illness, when no solid food is taken, any kind of liquid food can be taken as many times as the patient likes during the fast, under orders 20 and 21. Snuff and chewing tobacco is allowed during the fast. Pan, fruit, and sweetmeats can be taken immediately following meals, only breakfast and supper. Aerated soda water, no sweet drinks, can be counted as water. Taking of medicines does not affect any of the rules. On July 6th, Baba asked the women, "How do you like this bungalow?" All said it was quite good, and Baba remarked, "It is almost empty, and there are heaps of snakes. It is said there is a man-eating python on the hill near our compound. But no amount of snakes, mosquitoes, and insects will make us move from here, unless there is no more drinking water. Then we might shift to another bungalow. I do not move from a place for nothing. Just consider how, with such a large party and such heavy baggage, I have been traveling, and think what it cost. We have to sit or stand, cramped in the train or bus, like pieces of luggage. And when I tell Elizabeth to brush her teeth in the early morning after saying what, why, how, when, and where, she goes back to sleep. This tour has an objective, else I would not take you from place to place. In these journeys you are harassed, and so am I. But for my work, I have to do it." On Sunday, July 7, 1940, Baba explained to the women about various matters. From August 1st, we will speak about the war and nothing else. The conditions that prevail in the world today are the cause of its suffering. But the misery and suffering are not for emancipation. Only love can achieve that. The worst of sinners, after undergoing untold privations, have turned into the greatest of saints. Even a sinner worse than Hitler can become a saint. If a man such as Hitler were really to feel what he has done and repent for it, then it would be greatness on his part. All this is the play of the mind. The mind goes one way and it keeps on going. Hitler thinks that what he does is absolutely right, that he is doing justice for Germany. Mussolini thinks what he is doing now for Italy, compared to its former suffering, is quite good. With these thoughts, for their one right, they just feel justified to commit millions of wrongs. The more the gains now, the more the intoxication for still more. Drunkards, when they get drunk, challenge, "Come one, come all." It's not the drunkards who say it, but their intoxication. Thus, out of sheer hostility, the more wrongs done, the more the repentance. Churchill is a good match for them both. Had it been Chamberlain, he would not have done what Churchill did to the French fleet, to bombing in Oran. He would have just opened his umbrella and done this and that. He is a thorough gentleman. He works under Churchill, and his speech 2 days ago was wonderful. And like Churchill, he is very honest. How does this all work? We are all nations. Each one of you represents a nation. Mansari is a small nation. Nadine is a big nation, and so on. Each one according to her greatness or smallness. Her greed, her longing for power and possession, tries diplomatically to get what she wants. But when one loses in war, one tries to get into the next war. The mentality is like that. For example, what will you fight with? With arms. The only solution for it is to cut off everybody's arms. Then they will find themselves armless, and come to the conclusion that this armlessness has come about because of their showing the strength of their arms. Then they will promise each other from the bottom of their hearts to maintain weapons, but never to use them on each other. They help each other and become like members of one family. This is what is being done. All will be exhausted, just go limp. No one wins, no one loses. All will be half dead. There was never such a war. France first fought side by side with England. Now she fights against her. Such a muddle. But master of the whole situation is Russia. Germany tells Romania to keep quiet and promises not to invade it. Russia knows that if it sides with Germany, England would be beaten, and vice versa. Germany and Romania are both trying to please Russia. Religion has to go, and God has to come, definitely. Gandhi tells Britain to be nonviolent, to let Germany take over England, to let themselves be killed, to be destroyed, and not to fight. What he says is 100% right and true, but absolutely impossible and impractical. Hitler and Gandhi are both right in their way of thinking according to their own conceptions, but both are stark mad that think so. Both are extremes. Extreme violence, when it reaches the zenith, becomes nonviolence, and vice versa. A worldly type. Garlic. He tries to snatch here and there. Hitler is a beast, but also a man. Mussolini is simply a bear. Gandhi is impractical, but a very good man. He thinks what is right, tries to act up to it, admits his weaknesses. The world will never be nonviolent. It will always be more than nonviolence. And more than nonviolence is love. Nonviolence means eternal resistance to the longing to retaliate. Love needs no efforts. It is different from resistance to longing. Love demands self-control and spontaneous happiness for the beloved. This effort is necessary for love, but it is not dry. Nonviolence is not the self-control that is needed in love. It is continuous resistance to the longing to retaliate. One is effort for transformation, the other is an effort for repression. But Gandhi is much above Hitler and Mussolini. He is a great man. Wherever he feels his weaknesses, he admits it. The next day, July 8, Baba stated to the women, "Kill to defend without hate. France will hate England. Of what use is democracy if it cannot help? So neither it nor totalitarianism will remain. Both will go. So neither it nor totalitarianism will remain. Both will go. To get Turkey in a mess before we leave Ranchi, there is only one solution. Tomorrow we go to the Jonah Falls. The day after to the circus, and then we get buried in this house until we go. Tomorrow, seeing the falls will make Turkey fall, and seeing the elephant ride, the cycle, in the circus will make Turkey ride wild horses." On the evening of July 7th, Baba sent Kakabaria to Calcutta to bring mast to him. With much difficulty he managed to bring Karim Baba to Ranchi on July 9th. The mast had not left his seat in Calcutta for over 10 years. It was truly only by Baba's inner help that the mast agreed to accompany Kaka, who later said he was repeating Baba's name inwardly. Baba remarked, "The work accomplished by Kaka in bringing this mast here is more than the work which will be accomplished by the 240 persons who have pledged to abide by the restrictions given them by me for 1 year." Baba at once saw in the mast's eyes an expression, a resemblance to the one of the old members of the Mandali, Karim, and for that reason named him Karim Baba. Footnotes, page 2581. Karim Baba's real name is not known. This mast, and likewise other musts, was simply renamed by Meher Baba. This saint was most loved by Christians in Calcutta. Karim is an Arabic name of God, and also another name for the Quran. Karim Baba was kept in a room near Chatti Baba, where he would visit him a number of times during the day and also before retiring for the night. Karim Baba was the must whose eyes shone as bright as tigers. He would swallow copper coins and then carefully remove them from his stools, clean them with his clothes, and then swallow them again. He was extremely dirty, stinking beyond description, but would not allow any of the mandali to remove his clothes or to give him a bath. Once when Baidul tried to remove his stool before he could extract the coins, Karim Baba, who was usually silent, let out such a roar as if he would tear Baidul apart. The must was therefore left alone, undisturbed. The must's fingernails were extremely long and sharp, and Baba warned everyone to take care, as Karim Baba might scratch one on the face if he were out of mood. Baba even hinted he might even go for me when I am alone working in the evening. Today I am very happy. There are two very advanced souls who control the whole of Calcutta. One woman very old who looks like Babajan, and one man whom the fatty, Kaka, has brought here today. A footnote on Kaka, page 2581. And that Fatty or the Fatty was Baba's nickname. Fatty or the Fatty was Baba's nickname for Kakabaria when in the presence of the Eastern women. Baba would refer to Baidul as Soltun's sister. I saw both during my last trip to Calcutta. The man who has been brought was sitting in one place for 10 years. People bring him food, as many believe in him, and he eats it all. He does not bathe. He ties wire and rags around himself. Nothing would make him move. Then I sent for him here through Kaka. How Kaka managed, he alone knows. But when the muss was put in Tonga, at least 500 people followed him to the train. There is a photograph of the six-plane must Karim Baba of Calcutta. This photograph of Karim Baba was taken on the street where he sat unmoved for 10 years or more outside two doctors' office. The wall behind him reads, "World famous, consult Dr. S. Hakim M.D., 135 Harrison Road, Calcutta, who is a specialist in impotency, gonorrhea, syphilis, piles, all other organic diseases. Radical cure piles, fistula, hydrocele, carbonelli beef, septic sore. Dr. D.N. Biswas, 135 Harrison Road, Calcutta." Tomorrow I will show him to you all. When we were in Calcutta and saw him, it was raining so very hard, but he was just lying there, oblivious to it. He doesn't speak a word. After 4 days of Baba's contact in Ranchi, however, suddenly Karim Baba began singing, which was unheard of, as none in Calcutta ever found him in a happy mood. Meher Baba was fully occupied with his must work in Ranchi, now working mostly with Chatti Baba and Karim Baba. Occasionally Baba would drop a few hints of how his work with them was related to the war. Once when Chatti Baba was out of sorts, Baba sent Krishna to ask him what was the matter. The must kept quiet, and only after Krishna had asked him a number of times did Chatti reply, "How will you ever understand this great thing?" Although Baidul would work wholeheartedly and very hard in the must work, his mind would at times trouble him. He could not accept Mohammed as a saint or wali, thinking him to be mad for playing with dirt or digging with his fingers in dirt. Once in Ranchi it began raining heavily. Baidul tried to dissuade Mohammed from playing in dirt, or dish, as he called it, and to come in out of the rain to protect his health. Baidul was rather harsh with him, and Mohammed started crying. Baba happened to come by when Baidul was threatening Mohammed and forcefully pulling him out of the mud and rain. It was this incident that caused Baba to give a long explanation about the condition of these musts and the understandability of using any force on them. You have no idea how these musts feel in this changed environment. All the care we bestow, the food and clothing we give, is no obligation to them at all, for they do not need it. Rather, they resent it. In allowing us an opportunity to serve, they are, on the contrary, obliging us. Otherwise, it is a binding to those accustomed to live freely and happily according to their own peculiar whims and methods. To distract them from a particular thing in which they are interested in is a torture for them, for they find relief even in staying in their squalor and playing with dirt and filth. 5 and 6 coins at a time, and passing them out in his stools, and again gulping them down, is an example of this. It is his method. If you try to stop it, even with the best of motives, to keep him clean and out of the dirt, and he gets enraged, you could be doomed for life, because the wrath of must and saints is very dangerous. Mohammed's trait of finding and looking at his dish is a sort of relief to him to be thus occupied. You think that he is playing with dirt and is exposed to the elements. With the best of motives of safeguarding his health, you try to bring him in. When he resists, you forcibly try to pull him out and break his link to what he has seen in that particular object through the higher consciousness of the spiritual plane on which he is. And what happens? The moment he finds you trying to dissuade him, he feels disturbed and is indecisive whether to be there or here, meaning where his consciousness has taken him on the higher planes, through the thinking or through the thing he is looking at, or where he is called on by you to go, leaving his dish on this earthly plane. This is no joke. It is a regular torture to Muhammad to reconcile the two different and conflicting states of the higher and lower planes of consciousness. If, in the torments of this torture or excitement, he were to abuse or curse anyone for thus disturbing him in the enjoyment of his ecstasy, the cursed one would be doomed for this life. It is simply because of me that he cannot do this, and you are saved from his wrath. That is why I have been asking you constantly to be very tolerant and lenient with the musts, and never to disturb them even if they are persistent, even when you have the best of motives, such as to protect them from the elements, uncleanliness, etc., which is also one of your duties. The best way to handle them is the way of love and mild persuasion. If these do not succeed, nothing else will. Compulsion or force would be worse, even if they cannot hurt you for my sake. It reacts on them and causes them to suffer, which I do not want, for I know what a torture it is to them and how they suffer. It is a torture both ways. First of all, the musts suffer from being deprived of their own environment and their freedom in the places where they used to live. To be thus kept confined, even with all the other liberties we give them, and the best care we take of them, is to suffer. Secondly, the musts suffer whenever disturbed and pulled out of their ecstatic enjoyment. It is because they feel happy in my presence that they stay. They see me and know me as none of you do. That is why they are quiet. Otherwise they would be impossible to manage. If efforts made with love are effective with worldly people, they would be all the more effective and essential in dealing with these saintly beings who are lost in the love of God. You love to enjoy one phase of some of their particular traits when they are quiet and pleasing. You should enjoy equally the other phase of their insistence in the experience of the bliss they find in certain things which your eyes cannot penetrate nor your mind understand. End of this particular segment. We are still in the chapter on England and France. We will now request that you turn the tape over to the next side. Thank you. Chatti Baba. England and France, Lord Mayor, Volume 7, 1940 to 45. We pick up in the same chapter. As promised, Baba took the women to see the Jonah Falls, 23 miles away, on the 9th of July. On the evening of July 10th, Baba took the women in the Mandalay to Karlakar's circus, but they could not enjoy the performance as it was raining and the canvas tent was torn and leaking. During their 2-week stay in Ranchi, these were the women's only 2 outings, and they were confined to their quarters for the rest of the stay in Ranchi. Ranchi is a famous resort area in India. Before leaving Mehrabad, Baba had urged Donkin and the other men to take complete rest in Ranchi and make the most of the month before August 1st, when the newly imposed restrictions would come into force and they would have to lead a strictly disciplined life for a year. Baba had promised a glorious time in Ranchi and suggested that the trip would be more of a holiday or recreation than one of strictly work. However, the men were under no misapprehensions about what a long trip with Baba involved. The rainy weather kept everyone indoors most of the time, preventing them from even taking walks. Then Baba's work with the mast and the arduous work of preparing 240 type lists of 31 orders as soon as they arrived made all their dreams of a holiday during the tour vanish into thin air, as Chandji recounted. Mera, Sister Mani, Naja, and Khorshid were adjusted to seclusion. But for the Western women, the experience at Ranchi was a new one. The men, too, were much more restricted in their movements here. On one side of Golkati, the women were staying. On another side were the mast quarters, and on a third was a large hill full of deadly snakes. In the end, they felt like locked-up prisoners. Every evening, Baba would visit the women and discuss the latest warnings or his work with the musts. On July 11th, he commented regarding the war in Europe. Now, England is doing fine on water and in the air. If France declares war on England, what a surprise. England has set everyone against it. Ireland is another problem. Mark my words, it is 100% America's failure that has broken France's heart and made her hate democracy. Look at the facts. What did the last Constitution give France? Destruction. Now that all the people of France are accepting Germany, it means they hate democracy. Tomorrow, on the next evening, July 12th, Baba explained at length, tomorrow, all of you write down the 7 names of God and learn them by heart after 7 days. Then you will have to sing from your heart, Hari Paratma, Allah, Arhumazad, God, Yazdan, Hu. So all must sing it from the heart. The orders that I will give to each will have to be obeyed 100%. Try your utmost. You will have helped me by doing your best. If you obey fully, you have helped me fully. If you obey ordinarily, you help ordinarily. Have this very clear. This 1 year you will all see me very little. Let this 1 year of your life be just for obeying orders. It will not help me a bit if you do not obey, and then repent and feel sorry. If I say don't talk ill of one another, it means just that, under every circumstance. If you talk ill of anyone once and then feel sorry, that won't mean anything. Therefore, be on guard every moment. Your yoga for 1 year is to obey orders with all your hearts. It will be a supreme sacrifice for some of you, and for Mera, since she will not be seeing much of me. But obeying the orders I give you will be helping me. Regarding the men Mandalay, some I beg, but for you all it is simpler, but more difficult. Difficult because of the orders I just said. If one of you obeys implicitly, as I want you to, then I will be happy. Changing the topic, mentioning Karim Baba. What a miracle has happened. This must, Karim Baba, who for 10 long years did not leave his place, and who people said did not move, has come here. And for 10 years people did not hear him utter a word, even those who stay near him. Also many Christians believe in him and give him food. They all told Kaka the same. When Kaka and I went to him in Calcutta, he did not speak. The first 2 days here he did not speak. But last night he sang out loudly and later began abusing everyone. My touching him for 3 days has made him speak. For 10 years he was mild. Now he will become very wild. What he sang in Urdu after 10 years was, God can be found in the jungle. He can be found in the cities. And this song he repeated for an hour and then started cursing. From the 1st of August, you all sing with harmony. And from the 1st of August, you all sing with a harmonium. For 1 year, you will eat only once a day. Eat as much as you like at one sitting for as long as you like, for half or 1 hour. In Europe, people will starve after 6 months. They will eat horses, rats, children, old people. Compared to them, you are in heaven. But you will all have to obey even if you die. Twice tea or coffee, morning and noon, with milk. It will not go easy for the first few days for anyone who likes tea and coffee. But if it were easy, what would be the meaning of one's year's life of sacrifice? Even I will have to give the supreme sacrifice in my own way. Bayayas, a strong muscular Hindu caste from central India, eat once a day all their lives. A huge pile of chapatis and dal, and how strong they are. It is control. People quickly become excited when they are hungry and when they fast. So, control anger. Give Elizabeth your cup of coffee. India is also the land of coffee and tea. England will find it very difficult to find food. They will all starve. They will eat rats, bats, cats, and even old men and women. Mark my words. America now feels that it will have to fight sooner or later. It will be terrible. America will not suffer less than England and France. The only thing that I am concerned with at the moment is to get Turkey into this mess before 19th of July. On Sunday, July 14th, Baba commented about the musts. The must from Calcutta, Karim Baba, smoked 4 cigarettes at a time today. He also sang, I am the Raja, or king. I am the Khawaja, or master. He sits at one place the whole day long and goes to the toilet there. I clean it with phenol. Although he sits all day and takes no exercise, he has no liver trouble, no headache, and his bowels function regularly. His body is taken care of naturally. He is superconscious all day. Today Mohammed made us all laugh. He told Shariat Khan, my daughter has become big now. You must bathe, clothe, feed, and educate her. And Shariat replied, oh, I have 99 million children to look after. 1 more won't matter. On July 15th, Baba again commented about the list of restrictions to come into effect after 15 days. These orders are very important. It is most difficult not to backbite. Still, the more you try, the more you help me. It is very easy to say that she is bad, but when one is bad, then to feel she is not. To take food once a day is easy, but to think well of others is real help. Even if just one of you does it, I shall be happy. Criticism is in everyone's blood, and it is real self-control not to indulge in it. Suppose you are having 3 slices of bread and butter, and Nadia takes 1 slice and eats it. What would you say? You would think her mean. But if you offer her another slice sincerely and say she is nice, that is something great and uplifting. It means, in short, every moment of this 1 year, except the hours you are asleep, you have to be on guard if you honestly wish to obey these orders. That is the long and the short of it, and that is how I want it. From the moment you get up, Until you go to sleep, be on guard. Remember the orders and do it. On July 16th, after listening to Churchill's speech on the radio, Baba remarked how much he liked it and commented, "England will be worse than defeated. It will be made helpless. But it will be a good whirl later when, just as we saw in the circus the other night, when the lion, goat, and cow all ate together out of the same plate. The Germans, Italians, and English will all eat out of one plate, with no trainer but with my help." Hitler has met his match in Churchill. There will be many more surprises in this war. Two countries might side together today and fight tomorrow, and get in a muddle. Hitler wants Europe. Japan wants all of the East. In Europe, Britain will not let Germany have the upper hand. But will America fight Japan or let her have control of Asia? Americans will fight for the kick of it. Once when I was on a walking tour with the Mandalay in Gujarat, we had to cross the Narmada River when the soil was very slippery. If we put our feet in, we sank knee-deep. One Mandalay called Bar Soap got stuck chest-deep. I sent another Mandalay to take him out. His Bar Soap was fat. The other needed strength to pull him out, but instead he got stuck in the mud himself, up to his neck. I sent some more men to take them out. This is how Mussolini will get Hitler stuck. It will not be today, but it will happen. Then both will get stuck. Mussolini is going to get Hitler stuck. Mussolini is useless in war, but not purposely. Meanwhile, Papa Jesawala could not find a suitable bungalow to rent in Rangoon. He telegraphed this to Baba, who immediately cancelled his proposed visit to Burma. Papa returned to Calcutta, and Baba sent Chanji to meet him with new instructions to search for an appropriate spot for Baba on Ankai Mountain near Manmad. From Calcutta, Papa went directly to Manmad. From Ranchi on July 15, Baba sent Pendu a telegram instructing him to build a bamboo cage in one of the rooms in the mast ashram on Mehrabad Hill for Karim Baba. Baba instructed most of the men Mandalay to return to Mehrabad with the musts, while he, accompanied by the women Chanji and Kakabaria, took a train to Calcutta on July 19th. Arriving in Calcutta at 6:30 a.m. the next morning, they checked into the Majestic Hotel. It was very difficult at times to travel with the Eastern women and keep them in strict seclusion at the same time. Sometimes it was necessary to screen off the train or bus windows so that no man might inadvertently look inside. In Calcutta, Baba showed the women the botanical gardens, where there was a giant banyan tree which once sheltered 15,000 British soldiers. I say again, 15,000 British soldiers. They also visited the zoo, a Hindu temple consecrated to Kali, a Jain temple, and walked through the large marketplaces of the city. The next day they purchased a bird at the pet bazaar and a tailless monkey, whom Baba named Jampu, who had caught hold of Baba's sleeve as he passed. Jampu smelled foul, but he was so affectionate that he soon endeared himself to all, Doctor, when they traveled by train back to Mehrabad. Baba and the party left Calcutta by train at 5:20 p.m. on July 23rd. They reached Chakrahartpur at midnight, where the men Mandalay were waiting to join them for the return journey to Mehrabad. The Must Mohammed, Shariat Khan, and Karim Baba were with them, and the Mandalay had a hell of a time convincing the Must to board the train. In fact, Chatti Baba was missing because he refused outright to board the train, and so Donkin, Savak, and Baidul eventually brought him 2 days later. And Mehrabad seclusion. Baba returned to Mehrabad at 10:30 on the morning of July 25, 1940, and immediately became immersed in must work. The bamboo cage room on the hill was ready, and Karim Baba was housed there. Chatti Baba, Mohammed, and Shariat Khan were accompanied in separate rooms under the mast ashram on the hill. I say again, Chatti Baba, Mohammed, and Shariat Khan were accommodated in separate rooms within the mast ashram on the hill. The remainder of the mad and musts had been staying in the family quarters during Baba's absence. Immediately upon their return, Baba informed the women, "I will give you your orders tomorrow. I know you will follow all of them except the one of not criticizing and speaking ill of others. That one you won't be able to obey. I have been observing you all the past few days. I do not care if you do not obey, but if you do, you will help me. If you do not, you are of no help. The only hope, which is only 1%, is that from August 1st you might try your best. Everybody fights, and as far as this order is concerned, all are hopeless. Try your best to overcome it. Your fighting is all childish and has no sense. If you try, you will control, but trying means thinking of me. I will be visiting once a week to see you for a few hours, and if later I go to a nearby mountain, still I will come once a week. The first hour of my visits I will spend with the Eastern women in this house, so that Mara will also be satisfied by seeing me. Then I will call you all and talk with you for a few hours. Each will have a duty, and you must do it with all your heart. If you do not get angry, you are a stone. If you get angry and cannot control it, you are an animal. If you get angry and can control it, you are an angel, a saint. It is going against one's nature and habit that helps. Not getting angry will not help. You must not express it. Impotence is no help. If you think of me, these orders will go easy for you. Yoga means control, which is much more difficult than cutting off your arms and giving up your eye. When Christ said, "Give your other cheek to be slapped," it means control. But the world thinks that if you get slapped and don't get excited, you are either a coward or shameless. Innocent and fair criticism does not hurt and is good, but it is quite rare. What I mean by talking ill of others is when you criticize and it hurts. It hurts when you criticize excitedly out of anger. When you criticize with love and kindness, how can it hurt? Gautama Buddha gave 12 orders was to guard against looking at a woman. He meant for none of his disciples to risk being enveloped in lust in the slightest, and to be saved by not even looking at any woman. He knew that this would give rise to one weakness in his disciples, of always being nervous when in the company of women. But Buddha knew that this weakness was better than the risk. Any remark or criticism that does not hurt is good. Have fun, joke, humor, but do not hurt anyone and talk back. If you point out the shortcomings of others lovingly, without any feeling of hate or animosity, it is all right. Even arguing with love is permitted. Try your utmost to help me, which you can do by acting according to my wish. Sacrifice your sweet habit of hurting others. Fight to overcome lust, anger, and greed. To control is not to do which you have been used to doing. As my work is based upon my own degree, my own supreme sacrifice, it'll make your sacrifices for me by following my order easy. If you fail once, do not give up, but try again. If you succeed once, you will have helped me a lot. If you fail 9 times and win 1, that helps too. If a man feels hot, is feverish, is hungry, or is ill, he gets excited and angry. If you have a toothache, you are more apt to become excited about something than otherwise. Compared to a toothache, lust, anger, and greed are most horrible diseases. Try to free yourselves from them. There is no question of compromise in spirituality. Every desire is to be extirpated 100%. It is either yes or no. The next day Baba explained to the men mandali, these orders are to be very strictly and seriously observed. It will help me a great deal in my work, which is the spiritual regeneration of mankind at this critical period. It will require supreme self-sacrifice, and in this sacrifice I want all my dear ones to participate to the best of their ability. These orders are not to be treated lightly, but considered as the greatest injunction that a time such as this needs. Everyone has to contribute his or her quota in this. Every effort will count. Later that same day, explaining to the women about the war, Baba remarked, "This war is a big drama. There is the hero, heroine, the villain, all playing their parts in the drama. It is not Hitler's fault if he is playing the villain in God's drama. It's good he is acting his part well. I like villains, heroes, angels, devils, anyone who acts their parts perfectly." Baba then gave the women their duties and list of individual orders to be followed for 1 year. He instructed Nadine Tolstoy, Irene Billow, Mansari, and Carmen Massi to keep silence during this period. Ankai, a mountain 10 miles from Manmad, is the place where the rishi, sage Agasatya Muni, had done severe penance. Upasni Maharaj had also spent some time in seclusion there. Baba had revealed that the place was surcharged with spirituality. Papa Jesawala and Kakabaria had been sent to Ankai. They returned to Mehrabad on Sunday, July 28th, after visiting some caves on the hill. On July 30th, Baba sent a group of 5, Papa Jesawala, Gustaji, Pleader, Bahanad, and Savak, to stay at Ankai in the caves for 1 full year, coinciding with Baba's seclusion in Mehrabad. Gustaji was already observing silence, and Pleader, Bahanad, and Savak were also ordered to remain silent. Papa Jesawala was to be their spokesman, and Baba instructed all to obey Papa. Baba directed Papa to look after the others well. While the group was preparing to depart for Ankai, Baba seriously encouraged Papa. "Your austerities on the mountain will result in your spiritual progress." Swami Babhananda, after his pilgrimage to Ramesh, had stayed on in Bangalore and then accompanied the Mandalay to Mehrabad. Padre Naroji Murli Kali Adi Sr., Dr. Ghani, Datu Mehendaraj, and Sidhu were still living in Bangalore, as the work at Bairamangala was progressing slowly. Kakabaria and Chanji were in Bombay distributing literature in the name of Meher Baba. Chegan was in charge of the Mat Ashram at Mehrabad and staying with his wife and children in the Arangon family quarters. Baidul was in charge of the Mast Ashram up the hill. Pendu, Sailor, Homi, Donkin, Nilu, Masaji, Kaku, Kali Mama, and his brother Anakali were all staying in Lower Mehrabad. Masaji, Kali Mama, and Anakali were ordered to observe silence from the 1st of August. On Thursday, August 1st, 1940, Baba retired into seclusion in the Mast Ashram on Mehrabad Hill at 4 p.m. He fasted on water the whole day. Thereafter, he began eating only once a day, as he had instructed some of his lovers to do. No one, including the Mandali, was allowed to see him, except for Vishnu, who would go to him with mail, telegrams, and messages. Since all correspondence had stopped, there were hardly 5 or 6 letters received each day. So Vishnu would only go to Baba once a day in the morning, unless telegrams were received, in which case he would go back. Sometimes Adi Sr. in Bangalore would write to Baba, but Baba would not open his letters. He would ask, "Why does Adi write when he knows that correspondence has stopped?" The only other resident besides Vishnu who was fortunate enough to see Baba during his seclusion was the young servant Kashaya S. Campbell, age 22, who would bring Baba the Daily Times of India at 8:30 every morning. Baba, however, was always particular to ask Vishnu about each of the Mehrabad men and women Mandalay's health, work, duties, and activities. Krishna would take Baba his tea, food, and water, but he never saw Baba at these times. Baba remained quite aloof from the outside world, absorbed with working in seclusion with the musts. Krishna was told to be in, meaning to to come inside the mast ashram at the following times: 5 to 6 a.m., arrange Baba's bath and toilet. 7 a.m., for 5 minutes only, to bring tea and take away clothes for washing. 7:30 to 9:30 a.m., take away tea vessels, clean Baba's latrine, clean Chatti Baba's room, and arrange Chatti Baba's bath and breakfast tea. Bring Baba's drinking water and take away stale vessels, clean Baba's room. 2 p.m., for 5 minutes, to bring Baba's meals. 4 to 5 p.m., arrange Baba's bedding and take away meal vessels. Arrange meals for Chatti Baba. 6 p.m., for 10 minutes to bring Baba's tea and wash clothes. 6:30 p.m., for 15 minutes to take away tea vessels and clean Baba's latrine and keep a lighted lantern. Baba was not staying in one room, but moving about the compound of the mast ashram, giving a bath to the 4 musts and working in seclusion with Chatti Baba. Each time Krishna would step inside the compound, Baba would hide himself so as not to be seen. Before entering seclusion, Baba divided the women into different groups of 3. Members of one group were not to speak with members of another group. Kitty Devi was to pass messages between them. The upper floor of the dormitory was divided into smaller cubicles for each group. Baba would visit the women's quarters once a week, every Thursday, from 1:30 to 8 p.m. During the period of his seclusion, he had asked the women to chant the 7 names of God each morning. Each day they were ordered to keep silence from 4:30 to 7 a.m., from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and from 8 p.m. onward, because at these times Baba was absorbed in working with his must and would not tolerate the slightest noise from outside. On August 8th, Baba came to see the women and during the occasion explained to them more about Karim Baba. This new one from Calcutta is a very rare type. The state he is in was longed for by Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. He never asks for anything, not even water. Whatever you put there for him, he eats before him, and he smoked them all, 4 at a time, and swallowed the ends. It is phenomenal. And then he goes to sleep again. He either sits or sleeps. When, for my working purposes, I want to keep him awake, I put cigarettes before him, which he smokes continuously. Then he goes to sleep again. Although his sleep is not ordinary sleep, but superconsciousness. When I put 50 pan before him, he ate the whole lot. He does not enjoy it, however. It is all the same to him. He has not the slightest consciousness of the body. He is now in a cage. I keep him locked. Can you guess why? When this child gets into a temper, he is beyond anyone's control. Not even 100 people can control him then. Footnotes, page 2598. And the footnote 2598 is, Karim Baba was actually kept at Lower Mehrabad for a while in Baba's interview cabin, and when he was brought up to the bamboo cage room on Mehrabad Hill, he was brought by the men Mandalay, bound in heavy metal chains. So strong and ferocious was he, his strength equaled 100 men. When I find him approaching that temper even a little, I go and calm him. A child is a child. A mad is a mad, and a ghoul is a ghoul. But this type is all 3 in 1. When he acts like that, there is also a reason behind it. The changes and works of the world and humanity are played through the great souls or musts and worked by the perfect masters. What does this saint get violent? Why does this saint get violent? When the infinite power expresses itself through gross form, the gross form reacts in reverse, in the opposite way, because grossness is the opposite of God. Repeating, when the infinite power expresses itself through gross form, the gross form reacts in reverse, in the opposite way, because grossness is the opposite of God. I send the King Mast, Pulwala, back to Belgaum and brought this child Mast Karim Baba in his place. Both keep so healthy, never catch a cold or cough, never have indigestion in spite of their being so regardless of their body. King Mast and Child Mast never get sick because their body is their slave instead of their being slaves to their body. Elizabeth asked, and yet Ramakrishna had cancer. All perfect masters and avatars have some deep wound. I have it in my cheek. It is a hole. It is called nusur, fistula. It is sometimes better, sometimes worse. Continuing about Mast, Baba stated, nowadays Chatti Baba does not want to come out for his bath. So Mohammedan goes to his door and calls loudly, Baba, come, take bath. Meher Baba is standing. Meher Baba's legs are paining. Come, Baba, come. Only then Chatti Baba comes. I bathe him twice daily, about 50 pails of water each time. After his bath he pours earth over himself. Concerning the war, Baba stated, now, when I come here every Thursday, we will talk of everything but the war. Soon it will spread to Bombay and Ahmednagar. All over the world people are so sad, mad, and soon it will be bad beyond conception. Therefore, you must follow the orders as you did this week, but more wholeheartedly than ever, willingly and happily. Do it not just because I order you, but because you like to obey. Commented to the women about the 5 men staying in Ankai. Theirs is a hard test. 4 of them observe silence, and the one who is allowed to speak is the pistol, or Papa. He does everything and makes so much of a row that it drives them all crazy. He gets up at 4 a.m. and wakes them up just to keep him company. Every week things have to be brought from Manmad. There are no wells or proper shelter there. In their weekly report, the 4 under him reported, we will keep silence for eternity and fast to death, only if Pistol is not here. I replied, stay with Pistol and keep silence only for 1 year. Baba came back to see the women after a week, on August 15th. While reflecting upon a Gujarat interpretation of the Vedanta, Baba explained about realization and mazubs. When one is a real child, a kingly child, it means he is God realized. As in Godhood there is no pure childhood. That is why Jesus said, lest ye become like a child, you shall not enter the kingdom of God. To such a child, all the universe is as a toy. The whole infinite life is the garden where this child plays. Mazub is a Persian word meaning divinely overpowered. One gets drowned, immersed completely. We see the mazubs eating, drinking, sleeping, etc., but they themselves do not know it literally. They are not at all conscious of the body. For example, when a person talks, sings, or cries in his sleep, others hear it, but the person himself is not conscious of it. That is why these musts are never ill. Out of 1,000 million people, I say again, out of 1,000 million people, only 100,000 are on the path. Out of these 100,000, only 10 become mazubs, and out of the 10, only 1 comes down as a perfect master. Today I've talked much. I won't do it every time. I don't like it. In the mast ashram I don't talk, I work. I want you to start sending Warrior, one of the pet dogs, over to the mast ashram every day at 2 p.m. for a week. The night watchman has reported that every morning at 3 a.m., 2 wolves have been prowling outside the compound. So be careful of the ducks and hens. After working intensely with Karim Baba for several weeks, Baba finished his work with him and on August 16th sent him back to Calcutta with Kakabaria. Kaka went on to Tanjore and other places looking for musts. Baba then began staying in the cage room which had been specially built for this tiger must. During August 1940, Baba sent Masaji to Panharpur to bring the must known as Kabir to Mehrabad. Kabir was a most frightening character, near naked, very dirty, wild hair, and most unforgettable. His large mouth had 2 rows of yellow teeth, and he roared with the loudest laughter, like some wild beast who could devour one. His haunt was the cremation grounds, saying that he wallowed in the ashes with the remains of the corpses. Baba bathed and shaved this wild must, and after one day at Mehrabad sent him back to his haunt. Footnote, please, 2601. Footnote 2601. Is in 1947, 7 years later, Baba worked intensely with this must Kabir in Mahabaleshwar. Meanwhile, at Ankai, Savak, Gustaji, Pleader, and Bahahanad were facing unexpected hardships. Papa Jesawala would give them tea at 4 a.m. Lunch would be served at 7 a.m., afternoon tea at 10 a.m., and dinner at 2 p.m. All had to follow this absurd regimen, and none could hesitate to carry it out. None could say a word to refute his instructions, since they were on silence, and they had been ordered by Baba to obey whatever Papa said. So this was a time of doubly harsh penance for them, and their state was such that if at 7 a.m., the fixed time for lunch, anyone wanted to go to answer nature's call, Papa Jesawala would not tolerate even a moment's delay and would refuse to give them permission to leave. On August 22nd, when Baba was visiting with the women, he mentioned to them about the Ankai group. Before he began, one woman remarked that he looked so well and beautiful. Baba commented in reply, "And yet, last night was a terrible night for me. Those in the mountain are having a good time. Fog, chilly weather, but a spiritual atmosphere. This mountain is a Hindu place of pilgrimage, and this is the month of pilgrimage. Thousands go there. There is the tomb of a well-known Hindu saint, Agasya Muni. 4 of the Mandalay are staying right there in a cave. They walk about on a plateau. Out of the 5 there, the only one who speaks is the pistol. You can picture him telling them all to go to hell when he cannot understand their signs. At 7 in the morning, he gets all the food cooked and ready. He wakes them up at 4 a.m. If they do not get up, he makes such a loud racket that they have to get up. Even when he was here, he used to get up at 2:30 a.m. and wake up the men. In a way, it's good. It is discipline. It is his nature. Before he goes anywhere, he packs his luggage and is ready 7 days beforehand." Norina remarked, "But Papa is somewhat stingy." "Well, let's not criticize," Baba spelled out, and smiled in reference to their orders. It was almost 4:45 in the afternoon by then, and Baba stated, "Until 4 o'clock we will talk of war. Churchill will be marked down in history as the greatest Prime Minister of England. America is slowly coming in. One thing is definite, India will suffer most of all, internal and external both. We will be in the midst of war. Bombs will drop on Norina's foot. There are 4 stages of the war. The first is now over, and the second will begin. It will be bad. The third will be very bad. The whole world will be aflame. The fourth will be termination. The three phases are within 1 year, 4 months each. The difference in good and bad is so subtle. Good for one person is bad for others. Hitler really thinks he is doing good, but his good is bad for others. Don't think because I look so happy and well that it is all so easy. I feel very, very well, but very depressed. Last night was very bad. Baba then commented about meditation and repeating his name. Love comes in the last stage of meditation. It is the longing for the beloved that brings one nearer to that stage. Names of God. When I say do it from the heart, it means first you must feel that you are taking the name of God. Secondly, you must have the fixed idea in your mind that all these names are one. The vibration of your repetition helps. These names I have so selected and arranged that they vibrate and help if done with feeling. I intend for the mast to sing this. They will help more because their minds work either too fast or too slow, so that it seems at a stop. Baba narrated an amusing incident about meditation. I had a follower named Barsop. While meditating, he would go to sleep, but in the posture of meditation. When anyone shook him awake, he would claim he was in deep meditation. But one day I caught him, and he admitted he was sleeping. So like Barsop, do not go to sleep during meditation, but sing the name sincerely. Baba sent word to Duncan through Vishnu to proceed to Ankai and see how the Mandalay there were faring. He was to ask them whether they would prefer to stay at Ankai or return to Mehrabad. Duncan left on August 26th and returned the same evening with encouraging news. Papa Jesawala had told Duncan that all were happy and that he was caring for them well, saying that they would of course continue to stay at Ankai until Baba himself sent for them. But poor Savik, Gustaji, Pleader, and Bahanahad were silent, so they could not tell Duncan the real facts. Padri came to Mehrabad on August 26th, but Baba did not see him. Daily, Krishna would carry Baba's meals to him in the cage room, leave the food on the floor, and go away without seeing Baba. A bell was rung in front of Baba's room. After eating, Baba would go inside the cage and pull on a rope to ring the bell for Krishna, who would come and take away the empty dishes. Krishna had a rope on the outside that was attached to the bell. When he rang the bell 2 times at 8 in the morning, for instance, Baba would know that Vishnu was coming, so he would retire inside. This went on for 6 or 7 days until the following incident occurred. One afternoon, as Krishna sat in his usual position outside the compound gate, he heard the bell ring. Krishna related what happened. I wondered why Baba was calling me in the middle of the afternoon, because it was not his tea time. I entered the gate. I had just opened the gate when I saw Baba standing in front of me. A blazing light stronger than 100 suns shone from his body. I was overwhelmed by its brightness. I swooned, catching one side of the gatepost with my right hand for support. I lost consciousness. Baba hurried over to Krishna and grasped his left bicep. He pulled a muscle so hard it tore in 2 pieces. The searing pain brought Krishna back to consciousness. Why did you come inside? Baba demanded angrily. Do you want to burn? Do you want to die? Do you want to be blind? Why did you come? Who called you? Krishna was weeping. After a few minutes he replied, Baba, the bell was ringing. Who rang the bell? I don't know, Krishna replied. I'm innocent, Baba. Baba went inside. Krishna remained slumped by the compound gate, unable to move. Baba came out again within 5 minutes. He was smiling. Baba caressed Krishna's face. Don't worry, he said. I forgive you. What has happened has happened. Krishna got to his feet, and Neela was called to treat his injury. The muscle never healed properly. It served as a lifelong reminder to Krishna of what he had seen that day on Mehrabad Hill. On Thursday, August 29th, when Baba was with the women, he commented, "To be with me at this period needs infinite good sanskars of the past." Baba instructed the women not to send the dog Warrior anymore, because he would be shifting the mad and other must up the hill from the family quarters. Mentioning Mohammed in a humorous vein, Baba stated his wife was to have come tomorrow. When he asked if she was coming, we said, "Yes, but she has fasted for a month and is very weak and ill. If you want, we can bring her to you on a stretcher." And he said, No, keep her and feed her well, on ghee, butter, and when she is well and fat, bring her. So again it is prolonged. All had a good laugh at this amusing incident. Kakabarya arrived at night with a must from Bombay. Baba indicated he was one of the 3 genuine musts of Bombay. Baba bathed him, but sent him back the next day, since there was no space to keep him in Mehrabad. Chagin would also bring mad persons and musts to Baba to be bathed, some of whom were kept in Mehrabad. Of the Mandali, only Kaka, Chagin, and Vishnu saw Baba. Baba did, however, call Padri and Murli for a few days from Bangalore and gave them certain instructions. From his seclusion, Baba began visiting the women Mandali twice a week in September, on Sundays and Thursdays. He went to their quarters at 1 p.m. on Sunday, September 1st, and remarked, "The war has entered the second phase." Pendu had been instructed through Vishnu to build another bathroom for Baba's personal use in the mast ashram compound, as Baba wanted to shift the mad up the hill. Baba was working with the must within the barbed wire compound at the maternity hospital, but he would not show himself as long as Pendu was within the vicinity. He therefore directed that Pendu only work on the 2 days when he went to see the women. The mad and a few must who had been kept in the family quarters in Arangan were shifted up to the must ashram on September 2nd. Baba indicated he wished to work with them for a month before sending them away. It also seemed to coincide once again with the activities related to the war, as from the end of August to the first week in September, London was being heavily bombed by the Germans. The Battle of Britain was raging on. The women were mostly looking after all the animals which were still kept on Mehrabad Hill in the zoo. Narina had sprained a ligament in her right foot and was temporarily bedridden upstairs. Lucky the monkey was put in her charge under the mosquito net. Baba would come to see him, hold and caress him, and the monkey would in turn kiss Baba's neck. Lucky was anything but lucky for the women. He proved to be a great mischief maker. He would break loose from his cage under Narina's net, smear stuff, throw things everywhere, causing noise when Baba wanted silence, and in general proved an incredible nuisance. Mansari had been ordered to translate the contents of Meher Baba journal into Gujarati every month, and Lucky caused havoc, grabbing her ink bottle, papers, and pens and running off with them. This annoyed Mansari, but she was on silence and could not shout, "Catch him," as she would have liked. This is the end of side 2 of this tape, at page 2605.